Hey everybody, welcome into another webinar with me. My name is Andrew Kent. Today we're going to kind of go over some coaching points and kind of the theme that we're going to go over this week is depth. I know a lot of times it's kind of pretty simple or one of the things that people automatically start talking about when you're working with a young goalie or any goalie really. It's saying, hey, either get out of the net or you're too deep, or how do I get my goalie to get out further? It's just kind of one of those topics that goes over a lot of things. It's kind of all encompassing for a lot of people, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of hop right in, and we're gonna kind of go over some things that I see and have seen, and kind of put some things into perspective on what to look for, and then kind of how to help coach someone do this, or if you are a goalie yourself, what you kind of take away from this as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quick. So this is um my iPad, and what we're gonna do actually is move my face. All right, is we're gonna go over this. So what we have is we have a goalie, um, and this is a young goalie, youth goalie, first year squirt, and what we're gonna work on, and we're gonna kind of show you is what the difference is when the puck's in different spots and how that affects the size of the net, and what happens when the goalie moves around and how that affects how much net they cover as well. So obviously there's definitely things that we can be working on and improving on a lot of things, but we're working on depth specifically, so let's not get hung up on too many other things here. So if I draw the outline of a net right here, a couple things we notice. One, his glove might be a little too high, it's already over the net, but for the most part there is a big gap between his hands and the crossbar, right? And for this little drill, what I had this goalie do is stay still just like a statue, right? And we worked on, this is what the puck sees from the puck's perspective when the goalie, so this is a first year squirt, so not a very large goalie, right? Is at the top of the crease when the puck is at the top of the circle, right? And then we moved in and went to the hash marks. We'll focus in here. And when we're at the hash marks, there we go. And the goalie stayed still, did not move a muscle. What we're seeing is that net got a lot smaller, right? Still, we could talk about how, yes, his glove's over the net right now, probably lower that. But what we're noticing is that net kind of shrunk behind him. So as that puck gets closer to you, if you maintain your depth and you do not back up, the net shrinks behind you, right? And this is how much a first year squirt is filling when the puck's at the hash marks and the goalie's at the top of the crease, right? So covering quite a bit of net, right? And then as that puck moves it in even tighter, about halfway between the hash marks and the top of the crease, what you can see is how small the net really gets. And you can really tell how high your glove is over the net here, right? So filling a lot of net, but that's if you just maintain your stance and your depth as that puck moves in, right? So what we can learn from that is kind of managing our depth based on where the puck is on the ice, right? And what we're going to see here is if this puck doesn't move, but the goalie moves, I think this is where a lot of players and parents understand, and coaches, right? We got butterfly here filling some net. But if that goalie backs up to the goal line, all of a sudden that net gets big again. So now there's a ton of net all the way around. And I think this is where a lot of youth goalies, in particular, get frustrated, or a lot of youth coaches or parents get frustrated because their goalie's hanging out back on the goal line and they're not filling a lot of the net. And so they're making their life a lot harder, right? And if they just were to come out from the goal line to the top of the crease, all of a sudden they fill a lot of that net. So this visual right here from top of the crease to the goal line is, I think, something that is easy for us to kind of understand by watching the video. But when you're never been told it or never really seen it this way, sometimes it just kind of clicks once you show them, right? So if you're a coach or a parent or a goalie, right, let's try to make sure that you guys are take this little visual cue, right, to help you understand how much net you can cover when you start coming out, right? But that being said, we have a couple different stances, right? So if that puck's in close, and I'm gonna go to a different clip, right? Is as that puck starts further away, right? You can kind of see goalie Aiden here. They moved their feet a little closer. As that puck starts from further distance away, you can be a little bit narrower, right? So what that means is we can have our feet underneath us, our knees underneath us. We don't have to be so spread out, right? And don't have to be so low. And there's a couple reasons. One, there's a long distance for that puck to get to you, right? So you don't have to be you have a little bit more time to be able to move, right? Also, the closer your feet are, the more athletic you are. So if you get your feet really far apart and you start getting really far and really low and wide, you're going to lose your athleticism. So if you're thinking of you're standing in your living room and you're going to try to jump and touch the ceiling, right? You're going to have your feet pretty much right underneath your hips and your shoulders, right? If you start getting wider and wider and wider, you're going to start losing some of that athleticism. So when that puck's far away, you can be a little tall, a little narrower, right? And then as that puck comes in, what we'll see is that puck comes in, you're going to have to change your stance, right? And we get to that hash mark, right? What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to lower our glove. You can see Aiden lowering his glove, right? You might even be able to get a little lower knee bend and maybe a little bit wider with your feet too, right? But that's kind of managing your stance to fill the net. So as that puck moves in, we can get lower, right? And as that puck moves even lower into the between the hash marks and the top of the circle, then we'll get there. Hold on. What you can see is now you're starting to fill that net because you're in that low stance. Now you can't play in that stance the whole game. You're going to get burnt out, you're going to be tired, and you're also not going to be able to move laterally very well, right? So one of the things is you just got to kind of manage that height of your stance based on where that puck is, right? And then I'm going to go to a different clip. The other part is you want to manage your depth, right? So we can have a little bit of flow backwards. If I start out really far, as this goalie is, right, filling a lot of net, as we move in, sorry, a little choppy, but as I move in, two things, he can get lower or he can back up. So you can see how he's starting to back up to fill that net. He's backing up. Now he's finding where that spot is. So based off of your size, it might be different for every goalie. How far out you want to be, how tall you want to be, or how low you want to be, depending on where that puck is on the ice. So as that puck moves closer, we can move back a little bit and get lower. You can see that the goalie right now is in a completely different stance, filling a lot of net compared to when they started out here. As we get closer, goalie gets lower, wider, backed up a little bit. You can see they're inside the crease now, filling a lot of net. Hopefully this is a good visual for you guys and it makes sense. So if I go to rink images here, what we're going to kind of go over here. I know it's kind of like math class almost, right? A little geometry, right? If that's where the puck is, top of the circle, and this is kind of a drawing from that post out to the puck. The further out the goalie gets, right, the shorter distance between those posts are. So at some point, you're going to end up overlapping that net. That same line way back in the goal line isn't going to fill the whole net. So you're going to have to figure out where in here you belong based on where the puck is. Now, hockey doesn't happen in a vacuum, and there's not just one goalie there or one shooter there. There's multiple options, right? So we have option one. Let's just call this option one right here. And then let's just say there's a passing option over here. Or, yeah, we'll just call it a passing option for right now. So based off of this, I'll go from this second angle. Maybe I'll use a different color so I don't have all the same colors in here. Use the blue. If I have the same kind of concept here, if I'm the goalie and I'm playing really far out, let's say I'm aggressively aggressive. This is obviously, you don't want to get the hash marks, but I'm out here. If there's ever a pass from this spot to this spot, this goalie's gonna have to travel a long distance to get squared up again. Right, I know it's a lot of red there. And the further back they play, maybe I'll use green, it's easier to see. They play back here, and then that pass happens. They have to move a lot less distance to get to that new angle. So there's a couple things in play here when we're managing our depth, right? It is our height in our stance. We don't want to be too tall, right? We want to make sure that we are kind of matching our height to fill the net where our hands aren't way over the crossbar, right? But we're also not really low when the puck's really far away, right? And then we have to manage kind of our gap or our position out and back based on how much net we can fill, but also the play and situation that we have. If there's other passing options or other threats, we might play a little deeper, right? If there are no threats, you can maybe be a little more aggressive. But the more aggressive we are, anytime that angle changes, if there's any lateral type of movement, we're going to have to work harder or move further to either stay on angle or get on angle. So there's a lot of things that kind of happen when it comes to depth and how we're managing our depth and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of it is, if you guys are, like I said, coaching or a parent or a goalie yourself, being able to have that visual of how much net you're filling kind of goes a long way. So I don't know if there's any questions or thoughts or anything like that. I know in the comments, I'd like to hear or in the group chat here, if you guys have any questions or other things that we'd kind of like to discuss. But that's kind of just a basic overview of depth and how it really kind of changes and affects how you play. And some of those little things can go a long way and be pretty impactful. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully you guys take this and use it and learn from it. But yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. We have one coming in here. So is there such a thing as too much depth? Absolutely. So if I go back in here, and if I kind of go, I'll just do the extremes. It's like a point of diminishing returns, right? So if I have to move from point A to point B, and I am this goalie way out here, so that's where I'm at. I have to move over here. That's a long distance, right? And this plays start happening faster and faster and faster. You're going to have to be able to get to these places a little quicker. So if we are that far out, you're going to have to either be a really quick skater, but B, it's going to be, you might be really slow at it, right? And here's the other thing. So if I draw a line from, these are back to the post, and if this is the puck, right? If I keep coming out, I'm not getting any wider, right? And I keep coming out, at some point, I'm going to be overlapping that line. And those aren't perfect lines. Sorry, I got fat fingers here drawing. But you guys understand, the further and further out I get, there's a point where it does us we are in no better advantage of covering any more net we're just overfilling the net, which at times is okay, but you can tell how the further and further out you get, depth can be an issue if we're too far out, right? And as that happens, then shooters and goal scorers, you're going to start pushing the puck at an angle or starting to change the angle quickly. It's going to be a huge advantage and open up a lot of holes and help you guys score some stuff. Any other questions? Hopefully that answers some of your guys' questions there. Perfect. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Like I said, today we went over depth. I'd love to hear some of your guys' thoughts, or if there's any topics that you guys would like discussed in future webinars here, let us know. Be glad to go over some of this stuff with you guys. We're a resource for you, and don't hesitate to reach out if you guys need anything. You guys know where to find us at megagoaltending.com, and hopefully you guys take this and use it, and good luck in your guys' tournaments and the rest of your guys' season.